Hello friends, welcome to Mysterious Stories. Friends, on the night of June 11, 1981, a guy named Issei Sagawa was present in his house in France. That night, he had invited one of his acquaintances home for supper. This girl's name was Renee Hartwell. Both of them were classmates, but how could this girl predict what Issei would do? This girl was in size flat and facing the other side when Issei pulled out a revolver and shot her. She shot at his own. He killed his friend. Friends, he was truly a cannibal. He continued to consume this female for the next several days. I won't go into details, but this story is so weird that it's difficult to believe. In 1949, this Issei was from a wealthy family in Japan. He was born in 1920. His father was a wealthy businessman. He had plenty of money. He had enjoyed reading literature since he was a boy, but he kept a secret in his heart. Friends, this Issei has always wanted to become a cannibal. It was like this. Despite completing a master's degree in English literature, the individual's childhood dreams of becoming a man-eater remained unresolved at the age of 24. So, in Tokyo, Japan, this man pursued a woman. The woman was on her way to her house. It was nighttime, and this man entered her flat. By this time, the woman had fallen asleep. He wanted to kill and eat her, but this woman awoke and began shouting. The police apprehended her, but she was released quickly because her family had money. Her father handed the daughter money, and she dropped the case. 1977 I traveled to France since he needed to get his PhD there. He claimed that every night, he fantasized about killing and eating a girl. He even had a gun with him. And then came the night of June 11, 1981. Sai invited her classmate Renee Hartwell to supper at her home. He informed Renee that he wanted to discuss anything about his academics. Renee was from the Netherlands and was also doing her PhD in France. He was ignorant of what he was really thinking. He considered himself to be exceedingly ugly. And by eating this girl, he hoped to take her energy into himself. What kind of individuals live in this planet, and what kinds of stories exist? Anyway, I explained what happened next at the beginning of the video. He stored the body parts of this girl in the refrigerator. He kept it in a bag and continued to photograph it. Later, he placed the remains of its body in a briefcase and intended to discard it into a lake. But then the police apprehended him on the way. Friends, this occurrence was so upsetting that it spread like wildfire throughout Japan and Pakistan, but what happened next is tragic. This cannibalistic man never went to prison. Issei's father hired a famous lawyer. This lawyer demonstrated in court that Issei had been. The case continued for 2 years, and after the French court declared Issei insane, he was transported to a mental institution in France. After some time there, Issei was deported back to Japan. Issei was also transferred to a mental asylum in Japan, but it was discovered after some time that his mental condition has improved, and he has been freed from the facility. Friends, his case was dismissed in France after he was pronounced mad, and he is now free in Japan. He acknowledged to killing and eating a girl. He was now free. Friends, people had heavily opposed this decision. This individual was widely despised in Japan at the time. Nonetheless, Assad continued to travel, give interviews, and write numerous books. He wrote restaurant reviews, implying that he was a murderer and cannibal living freely. He claimed that he had made a mistake and that people hated him. However, he should have been sentenced to death and given last rites after his parents' deaths. He wasn't even permitted to travel to Risumat, and his family despised him. This man died in 2022, and he was still roaming freely.